All right, with Liberty Me, I'm Kyle Platt, here with Tony Stiles, host of the Tony Stiles Show, nationally syndicated libertarian radio show. Tony, it's great to finally have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
We met up for the first time at ISFLC in Washington, D.C., and it was really fun. It was great to talk to you there. And the thing is that I find interesting is that you keep getting into you keep getting into trouble. Or maybe it's not your fault, but recently your Facebook account was banned or disappeared somehow. And I guess it's back now, is that correct?
That's correct. It just came back yesterday, sometime in the middle of the day. It was just by surprise. We were working on it. It was kind of a battle. We had a lot of things going on with that. The details as to why may eventually come out, but we have strict advice by our legal team not to say anything or do anything with that. Nothing bad happened. We didn't do anything wrong. Somebody else posted to our page something that shouldn't have been posted, which caused it to be banned. It was something very controversial and very time sensitive to that particular day. So we had to be banned, I guess, in order for them to correct it and I guess assess our page a little bit as to what we are about. So it was a little nerve-wracking because I don't know. For me, I'm a businessman. I have a radio show. I do political talk radio. I'm controversial on the air. My personal life, not really all that much. I'm more of a loudmouth when it comes to politics and everything else. I'm pretty modest and lead a pretty modest life. But within those circles, I guess it's becoming more and more known that I guess my reputation precedes me in places that I go, and that does not exclude the internet.
Sure. You know, I kind of assumed that was the situation, and I bet you did as well, because, you know, I peruse your site. It's not one of those places that's going to, I mean, obviously you're talking about libertarian things, you're talking about things that are kind of on the cutting edge of philosophy and politics, but it's not, you know, anything dangerous, really. Well, maybe. I don't know.
It's dangerous to talk about peaceful resolution and being angry with the government and calling them unwanted masters. I don't see anything wrong with that. The government sees things wrong with that. And people within Facebook and people that have that mentality that have been spoon-fed the lies, they may have that mentality too. And, you know, if this is true, this is 100% true. On every like that I get, I guess you could say, let me put it like this. Let me do the math in my head quick. Because we have, on our Facebook, we can see how many people have complained about each post. And on average, it's about 1 for every 5 likes are people complaining.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with what we're posting. It may be, like you said, a little on the edge of the philosophy and politics, but I don't think it's pushing the envelope by any stretch of the imagination.
Did it make you feel a little paranoid though, especially since fairly recently you got stopped and detained in Texas? Was it? Yeah,
just outside El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few things. That whole deal in Texas was very nerve-wracking, and there's reasons behind that. We have a whistleblower that's coming out in July that has some very good information about some IRS profiling that's going on. We can't release it until then because the government hasn't made their move to make it be known. So if we were to release it right now, people would say, "What the hell are they talking about? We have no idea what this is." We have to wait until the government makes their move and makes it known as to what they're doing so we can go ahead and blow the lid off of it right away. So I think a lot of what we have going on with the ordeals down in Texas that we had and having our tour manager down in Tampa getting messed with down there, something interesting about that down in Tampa. I guess I should timeline this a little better.
Sure.
Let me stop for a moment. For those that don't know, I'm on a national tour. I'm doing speaking around the country, going to different places, getting ready to go on my next leg. We're going to Philadelphia and Boston, up to PorcFest and down to D.C., and we're going a lot of places again. But on our way through this first leg of our tour, we were on our way from California. When I say we, my car, I was in California. My tour manager and my producer were going to Tampa, driving to Tampa, where I was going to fly out and meet them. They got pulled over in Tampa not Tampa, pardon me. They got pulled over in El Paso, Texas, and I guess what I can assume is that the city police that were there in El Paso were told to take the car in. They said that it was stolen, which isn't true. I'd have to report it stolen. So what happened was they called me, and I had to come down to El Paso, Texas in the middle of the night, pick up the car, let them know that it's my car. About half an hour later, we get picked up by the Department of Homeland Security and get detained, and our car is ripped apart. The whole thing's been neutralized now. They said they found marijuana in the car, which is a lie, and we pointed that out very well, and they dropped everything. So the whole charges on everything have been completely dropped because they were unable to produce anything realistic. When they told us they had marijuana in the car, they were unable to produce any marijuana to us. So that was really nice of them. So they kept us for 7 hours on trumped up charges that didn't exist. We go on our way. I think they were really trying to detain us. They really must have thought that we had something, being the crazy liberty-minded people we are. They must have thought we had guns or, drugs or whatever it may be.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Something to confiscate.
Yeah, something to confiscate, exactly. They thought they were going to get me on something. And Texas is the perfect place to do that because they're a zero-tolerance state. But, I don't smoke marijuana. I don't own a gun. And I don't have anything against smoking marijuana. I hope that it's decriminalized. I have nothing against guns. They're great, but I think it's a very good thing for there to be advocates out there like me that don't own guns, that don't smoke marijuana, that are advocating for the legalization of marijuana.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Of it rather, and also for gun rights. I think it's important for people to be like that. But that's beside the point. Getting off track again. But what happened was we go ahead and we isolate our phones so they can't track us or anything. We get down to Tampa. We wake up in the morning. Our tour manager is somewhere else at the time. Nate and I, my producer, we are doing, I don't know, whatever we do in the morning. We're out doing things. Just, I don't know, probably having breakfast or maybe sleeping, and I have no idea what we're doing at the time. But what happens at that specific point is where our tour manager was, Eric, he hears a banging on the door, and it's police. They haul him out, and they put him in the back of a wagon for about 7 hours before they book him. We have no idea where this guy is. We're worried. We have no idea. We've lost a guy. Don't know where he is. Can't find him. But come to find out, they held him for like 4 days is what they did. And they were really hoping that I would show up and post the bail, but we had other people do that. Yeah, anyways, long story short, what we found out about that department, that specific county near Tampa, is that their sheriff there used to be on Barack Obama's service detail as in the Secret Service. So there's some forces that are definitely trying to tear apart people in the liberty movement. I hate that term, liberty movement. I don't care for that term. I like the liberty community. I don't know what a great term would be, but that everybody that's involved with liberty, all my brothers and sisters, it seems to be that there are forces out there that are definitely trying to tear it apart from the outside and the inside. And if I can get my finger on where exactly it's at, I'd love to know, especially right now with the shooting out in Nevada and Alex Jones taking fire and Adam Kokesh taking fire on some of the stuff that's going on out there.
Yeah,
it seems like a hit.
Yeah, I was definitely going to bring that up. And, I do think that there is extra scrutiny on libertarian-minded individuals. I hate the word or the phrase liberty movement as well, but I can't think of a better one, so that's kind of a frustrating conundrum. But, you look at what happens whenever you've got individuals out there who shoot a couple policemen, put Gadsden flags on one of them, and now you've got Salon articles coming out saying, this is what libertarians are. It was expected, unfortunately. I knew it was going to happen. But, I look at your situation and I think, yes, absolutely, I think libertarians are targeted more, but it's also something that people should take from your situation, that this is what happens to average individuals, and perhaps they don't think about it the right way. Like, we're constantly getting messed with, and we're constantly being poked and prodded and by police and by government authorities, and most people just kind of take it in stride. but they should be furious about it. I don't know. That's 2 points. We should deal with the Las Vegas stuff though.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. There's a lot of individuals out there that just don't know what their rights are. Like for me, for example, if you would have asked me 5 years ago what to do when I get pulled over, I would have said, just comply. That's what you do. You do what they tell you to because they're the authority. And I've of course gone a long way since then. Now I knew at that point when we had the DHS surrounding us, I was asleep in the back seat. I wake up to getting swatted at in the back seat by the tour manager, and waking up to lights around us and him saying, we have trouble. My first thought then, much different than 5 years ago, my first thought then was I need to pull out my camera.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we need to document this stuff. I think that was one of the things about Las Vegas is that Las Vegas cops refuse to have cameras on their vehicles, like a lot of cops around the United States. But it's kind of an uneasy thing right now talking about the Las Vegas situation in the libertarian community. Personally, I don't think that you can justify shooting cops who are just eating lunch.
Lunch, I know.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's not justifiable. That's not libertarian.
Yeah, no, it's not at all.
So you have to strike that perfect balance, I guess, which is difficult. You have to understand the problem that cops pose and the fact that if anyone reads Radley Balco, which they should, cops do see civilians as the enemy right now. But you can't do that, and these people, they're not libertarians. They weren't.
No, they're not true libertarians. They may be. This is what's dangerous about what's out there. There's a lot of people out there, and I won't name names, and some of them are very good friends of mine. Some of them are just simple acquaintances of mine, and I don't disagree or agree with anybody. I try to stay as neutral as possible. I like a debate here and there when it's needed. But here's what's dangerous about what went on. If they want to label those people as libertarians or as anarchists, anarcho-capitalists, whatever label they want to put on these people. Libertarian being the easiest, most recognizable way to put it. These people, maybe they were right at that edge of understanding what libertarian is, but maybe they got a hold of some material that they didn't quite understand just yet, that they weren't quite ready for. A lot like, I don't know, for me, and I get into a lot of trouble over this, for me, I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus Christ, but there's a lot of people that first get into Christianity and they take their Bible and they're like, and they thump it on everybody, and they just don't quite understand what it's all about quite yet, and they should just shut up. They should be quiet until they understand things and let the people that do understand things take care of things for a little bit. Maybe just like that, within the liberty movement, there's that phrase again, within the liberty movement, maybe there are some people that just came along, these people, and thought, okay, I do believe in this libertarian mentality, and got a hold of some material they weren't quite ready to digest yet, and took the wrong way, and went a strange way, and went the wrong direction with it.
Sure, and
But then again, maybe it's a setup too.
Yeah, that's true. But when something like this happens, it's not going to decrease the state. It's not going to decrease the amount of policemen. It's not going to decrease the amount of police force. If anything, what happens is you get a public who, up until now, I think, had been less sympathetic of cops as of late. And now, all of a sudden, when something like this happens, there's going to be a huge outpouring of support for cops. There's going to be a lot more police on the streets. And it's immoral, number one, but it's so counterproductive from a strategic standpoint. If we really want to decrease the amount of cops and decrease the amount of force applied by cops, you can't do something like this.
That's exactly right. It's counterproductive, 100%. Like you said, it's cops sitting there eating lunch. If there were cops on my property, I don't own a gun. They had guns drawn on me. I don't know what exactly I do. That's my fault for not owning guns. That's my problem that I have. But there's a lot of people out there that say if cops come onto your property and they have their guns drawn, shoot like they're the enemy. What do you think of that? I'm sorry, I turned into a host all of a sudden. I just realized that.
No, that's fine. That's kind of the conundrum that we face. In fact, I want to have you on at multiple times in the future, and we can just, shoot the shit back and forth, because that would be fairly entertaining. But yeah, the issue there is that it's very simple. I think that the libertarian position, and I'm not here to tell people what they should believe, but I think the libertarian position is that you can apply force in self-defense. And if somebody feels, and this is a legal thing, right? It reminds me of the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman thing. Can you tell somebody, or can you see if somebody really did feel like their life was threatened in that situation? Well, I mean, if someone feels that their life is truly threatened, I think they have the right to defend themselves in that manner.
So let me ask you this then. If there's police that show up, let's use this same analogy again. Police show up on your property with guns drawn. At what point does it become self-defense? The moment their guns are drawn, or the moment that somebody starts shooting? Because with self-defense, as far as legal terminology goes, somebody else has to start something.
Right, sure.
They would have to just charge a weapon before you could say it's self-defense.
Right. Well, and this is where things get very tricky as far as the legal system goes, in that you got to understand that you're facing a jury of your peers, and that jury of your peers, for the most part, probably support police officers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're not. You have to think about these things before you take action.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult one, because for me, I know I immediately would feel threatened. I feel threatened in the presence of police officers. There's never been one single time where I saw the police and thought, oh, thank God the police are here. I now feel protected. That's never been the way I felt. It's always been, oh, the police are here. And I don't have to be doing anything wrong. Most of the time, 99.999% of the time, I'm not doing anything that's thought of as wrong. The other percentage of the time is what society would see as wrong, and that's a very small percentage. But what I'm getting at is that if I'm not doing anything wrong and they're coming up to me, and not necessarily coming up to me, but I'm in the presence of a police officer and I feel threatened, if their gun is out or not, whether they're looking at me or not, at what point do I start to think that, how do I want to phrase this? At what point do I become a victim? The moment that I feel threatened? Because if you want to go from a standpoint of a lot of feminists, or just women in general, I guess would be better. A lot of them, just in the presence of any person that they've had a bad encounter with, if they're in the presence of that person, they feel threatened, right? So a lot like that, I've had bad encounters with police, and I've seen other people have bad encounters with police. I feel threatened at that point immediately when they're present. So, maybe I should. I don't know. I guess I don't have a point. I guess I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just thinking as far into this as I possibly can, trying to dissect the whole thing is what I'm doing.
Well, and you're going down the rabbit hole of the legal system there, which is really tough.
Turning point. There's no point where I can discern at what point do I decide that I'm threatened and should defend myself, or the point that I just feel threatened and do nothing.
Sure.
When you feel threatened, the first natural instinct is to do something about it. And the police are the people you go to if you have somebody that's bothering you.
Right. I think the overarching point, or at least the one that I come away with there. Sorry, what?
I said it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be the police are the first people that you think of to go to, but
that's what I mean. That's what I mean, though. That's the overarching point that I come away with, is how sad is it that this job, these people in this profession that was invented to protect people, are the first thing that you think of when you think of fear. You're right. I've never felt better when cops are around, even if I'm not doing anything wrong, because I know that they have impunity. I know that they can throw me in prison. I know that they can do all sorts of things to me, and nothing will happen. And I mean, if anyone comes away from this conversation with anything, it should be an understanding, if you didn't already understand, that there's something seriously wrong there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's true, that impunity point. They can do anything that they want to, and is it our fault? That's another good question to put out there for people. Is it our fault that they're in that position? a lot would argue, yeah, it is. We should have gotten out. We should have voted for that, for them to have less, we should have voted for people that would have limited their authority, that would have limited other authority, that would have limited any authority, but we haven't. We failed as a society to do that. But then there's the other side of it that says, you know what makes up a society? The government or the people?
Sure.
So there's
yeah, and then you have to define government. Tony, I know you have to go. I know you're a busy guy. You're on tour right now. I really appreciate you stopping by and talking to me for a little bit. Let's continue this, please. Let's go ahead and just have multiple talks in the future and just kind of go back and forth and discuss these issues. And hopefully through our consternation and just kind of mental gymnastics, somebody watching might come away with something interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for everybody that's out there that's watching this before June 16th, which is Monday, June 16th, you should watch Mike Salvi's World. We're doing it on location in Philly. I'll be there in person. It should be interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a good one, Tony. I hope you enjoy the rest of your tour. And like I said, let's talk again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
All right. All right, with Liberty Me, I'm Kyle Platt, here with Tony Stiles, host of The Tony Stiles Show, nationally syndicated libertarian radio show. Tony, it's great to finally have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
We met up for the first time at ISFLC in Washington, D.C., and it was really fun. It was great to talk to you there. And the thing is that I find interesting is that you keep getting into you keep getting into
modest life. But within those circles, I guess it's becoming more and more known that I guess my reputation precedes me in places that I go, and that does not exclude the internet.
Sure. You know, I kind of assumed that was the situation, and I bet you did as well, because, I peruse your site. It's not one of those places that's going to, obviously you're talking about libertarian things, you're talking about things that are kind of on the cutting edge of philosophy and politics, but it's not, anything dangerous, really. Well, maybe. I don't know.
It's dangerous to talk about peaceful resolution and being angry with the government and calling them unwanted masters. I don't see anything wrong with that. The government sees things wrong with that. And people within Facebook and people that have that mentality, that have been spoon-fed the lies, they may have that mentality too. And, for every... Yeah, this is true. This is 100% true. On every like that I get, I guess you could say, let me put it like this. Let me do the math in my head quick. Because we have, on our Facebook, we can see how many people have complained about each post. And on average, it's about 1 for every 5 likes are people complaining.
Sure. So trouble. Or maybe it's not your fault, but recently your Facebook account was banned or disappeared somehow. And I guess it's back now, is that correct?
That's correct. It just came back yesterday, sometime in the middle of the day. It was just by surprise. We were working on it. It was kind of a battle. We had a lot of things going on with that. The details as to why may eventually come out, but we have strict advice by our legal team not to say anything or do anything with that. Nothing bad happened. We didn't do anything wrong. Somebody else posted to our page something that shouldn't have been posted, which caused it to be banned. It was something very controversial and very time sensitive to that particular day. So we had to be banned, I guess, in order for them to correct it and I guess assess our page a little bit as to what we are about. So it was a little nerve-wracking because I don't know. For me, I'm a businessman. I have a radio show. I do political talk radio. I'm controversial on the air. My personal life, not really all that much. I'm more of a loudmouth when it comes to politics and everything else. I'm pretty modest and lead a pretty